What's up, Badger fans? Let's celebrate the win. Let's talk a little Iowa. Big Ten basketball is back. The new year start off in a great. What better way to start the new year than beating Fran? I mean, outside of beating LSU, like that's the next best thing. So we got Justin, we got Rajiv. Let's talk about it. Let's celebrate on Locked On Badgers.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Locked On Badgers. Thank you for making this one of your first listens every day. Really, truly do appreciate it, as always. I know we've said it a couple times. Happy New Year's to everybody. And we got to win. So when we get the win, we got to...
This is awesome.
Jump up to that
Good day
line.
for me. Come on in here, buddy. Get up on that line.
I still think you really need to make a better one.
I think it's just part of it now. Like, I think
get up on that line.
I think it's part of the fabric of the show at this point. Like, I recognize that wasn't the best choice initially, but I think.
By the way, I do have one more thing that would have been better. We did not get a Frantrum tonight. That would have officially made it a perfect evening.
It's true. No, it's true. I'm almost surprised we didn't, but I almost feel like Fran kind of knows his team's not very good, right? I think that.
Yeah, there's no dude on this team. Perkins was the closest thing to it, and I actually like him as a player, but. Yeah, they don't really have anybody that you're really scared of being able to take over a game.
No, I agree. Let's start with this. The Badgers win. I mean, I feel like in the second half, Iowa made little mini runs, but it felt pretty comfortable for a typical Wisconsin-Iowa game. Let's go around the horn. Justin, start with you. Something that stood out to you from this game. I know we always come right off the jump with this.
I mean, it's offensive efficiency, and it took a while. It did not really hit until the second half. But this is what I was talking about earlier in the season that Wisconsin's going to do against teams. It's going to be a battle of, can you hang with us when we start executing the way that we're capable of? Iowa can't do that. And that's one of those things where Wisconsin's going to have a lot of games like this where the game may be initially close and they just wear a team down because that team can't consistently stay with them in how easy they can score. And having a couple dudes like that can throw down dunks like Storr, and Blackwell can do some really nice things. I mean, you have a lot of options. Plus, they probably have the best front court in the league outside of Purdue. So that really helps.
For me, what I saw, defensive intensity. I mean, 9 steals, 5 in the first half, 3 by Mari McGee. That's exactly what we need. I mean, I love the defensive intensity. Ever since the Providence game, ever since that game, our defense has ratcheted up, and it continues to improve game after game. I'm actually kind of shocked that Iowa is 0-for in the Big Ten. I mean, I know that they don't have a guy, but they're not a bad team. That what's that guy? Stanford, that guy that could shoot the 3 like lights out in the first half. Obviously, Perkins played really well in the second half. They didn't miss a shot in the first 5 minutes of the second half. So they're a pretty decent team, and I think we played really well against them. But I'm all about the defensive intensity. So many steals, so many fast breaks. We actually kind of played a little bit of their game, going fast break at times. That defense really stood out to me. And of course, offensively, we have the athletes. So we can do things like Chucky having a little NBA All-Star game type alley-oop dunk, and we can have Klesman. I mean, it's just great. This team's fun to watch. Probably my biggest takeaways were fun to watch, and I love the defense.
Yeah, I actually made some notes. The first note I made is fun basketball is fun. Like, there's just something fun about it.
Great note, by the way.
Yeah, like, I'm not trying to, get too deep here, but, like, we watch sports to be entertained. You go to the movies to be entertained. You go do these things to be entertained. It's called entertainment. And as much as everybody loves 45-42 Wisconsin for Northwestern,
no, nobody loves that. Just
just seeing an oop off the backboard. Like, I mean, for a Kentucky fan, that wouldn't be anything to talk about. Like, there's been a lack of that for a couple of years here. And it's just fun to see that athleticism. By the way, everyone is talking about that Chucky Hepburn, right? Alley-oop off the backboard to Storr. The very next play they get to steal, Hepburn is coming down with fast break again. Storr is trailing again. I'm going to ding Chucky Hepburn just a tiny bit because we could have got back-to-back oops. Hepburn didn't quite see him. That would have blown the roof off the Kohl Center. But that's my first point. And Rajiv, you hit on it. Fun basketball is just fun. This team is just a lot more fun to watch. And I mean, that's honestly, that can lead to better recruiting. That can lead to the crowd getting into it more. That can lead to better performances at home. That stuff is contagious in sports. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah,
We talk a lot about Kohl Center. Sorry, Justin. We talk a lot about Kohl Center atmosphere over the years, right? And how it's died down a little bit after the Bo Ryan era. And then, but you're exactly right. This is what can bring it right back up. Students love this stuff. Students love the oops. They love the athleticism that we're seeing. They love the defensive intensity, the steals. I mean, I remember back when I was in college, the Devin Harris days, when Devin Harris would constantly just get steals at the top of the key, go down there and have a huge sweeping dunk. That excites everyone. And that's the kind of player you have in AJ Storr, the things that he can do athletically, and John Blackwell, and the way Chucky's playing. I mean, God, Chucky had 4 points tonight, guys. 4 points, and we still played really well, and he still had a great game. So there is just so much to be happy about right now.
Yeah, I was going to make one of the big ones that I saw, 35 free throw attempts. And this is one of the unsung stories of this season. Looking at it, we always talked about it when Bo Ryan was coach, that we always made more free throws than our other teams attempted. We're back to that this season. That's the biggest turnaround that we've had, and one of the biggest reasons for this team's success compared to the last couple seasons where we've struggled a little bit more. This team is far more adept at being able to get to the free throw line, and that's what they're hanging their hat on, kind of. This team's really good at scoring in the paint, too. So they're not afraid to take it at the rim at all.
Yeah, 71% though in the free throw shooting is not good enough. Late in the second half, though, where you kept making 1 out of every 2, that needs to be corrected. Still, that's not good enough down the stretch.
I want to point out though, with that, how about Tyler Wahl turning around his free throw ability?
11 of 13 tonight.
That's incredible from where he was early in the year, from where he was even last year. 11 of 13, and he looks great. He looks confident. I also wanted to point out one of my other notes is I thought early in the game it felt like, and Commandant Klink mentioned this too. It felt like we started a little slow, which doesn't surprise me. They hadn't played in 2 weeks, basically, right? Coming off the holidays. I thought Wahl was the guy early on the offensive glass, defensively, getting fouled, getting to the free throw line. I thought he was the guy early, had energy, and kind of kept us from going into that early, 8-point hole. Wahl played great today. Absolutely great today. He was all over the place. And I thought early on he was the energizer for this team.
And McGee, too, provided a lot of energy in the first half. I mean, 3 steals in the first, 12 minutes, I think he had. That's great. I mean, and coming off the bench, he obviously wants to play. He's fighting for minutes. I appreciate the guys at the bench that are trying to get into that constant rotation. I thought McGee had a huge lift for what we had in the first half.
Couple guys on McGee really quick. Grant O'Doherty agrees. Big McGee minutes in the first. I'm going to butcher this. Mick Chilla Farilla. Oh, I didn't butcher that. That's perfect. Am I the only one who thinks Gard doesn't get enough credit? Knows his role, embraces it perfectly. So a couple people right on that same point, Rajiv. Justin, what else on tonight stuck out to you? And then second comment, we'll get our second part of the segment. We'll get into your guys' comments.
I'm really good to see them shoot over 50% for the first game back off a layoff. It took 10 less shots than Iowa, and it still won by 12 points, or 11 points. So, yeah, I mean, the efficiency was pretty clear in this one. I was kind of shocked to see that Iowa had that many more shots than us, though, in this game. So the line was clearly the difference in this one.
I mean, just think about 25% from 3 that we shot today. 25% from 3, 4 of 16, and we still won by 10 points. And like I said, I don't think Iowa's that bad of a team. They've got weapons that can score, and it's all about we're not just depending on our ability to shoot. As Justin pointed out, we're getting to the free throw line. We're scoring in different ways. We have athletes to do things that we haven't done. The spacing is better. Thank God for Crowell's shooting. I'm so happy when he shoots from the 3. 2 of 2 tonight, spreads out the floor more. There's no reason he shouldn't be shooting more. Thank you. And those 2 guys together, Wahl and Crowell, 10 of 16. When those guys shoot like that, we're not losing a lot of games, guys. We're not. They're way too important. And when they have games like that, it's always going to lead to a W.
One of my points I made was they need to somehow, this Badger staff, Crowell has to shoot more threes. He's too good of a shooter. And
been saying it for weeks.
Shoot more. And there's even times they kick it out to him, and it's there's
shoot the ball.
20% who just jack up threes. I'm like, dude, you are shoot the ball, bro.
Marcus Silver.
Yes, shoot the ball.
I think he's 11 of 16 on the season.
He shoots incredibly. Now listen, some of that is the efficiency will go down if he shoots more. He won't keep shooting over 50%. But that's not the point. The point is the more he shoots, the more the defense is going to have to space out to cover him. And that creates issues because he's a really good passer from the perimeter. So it opens up other things. The way this team can cut, if he can take advantage of that, draw the big man out more, shoot more, I think this offense has another level in it.
Yeah, I was going to say that's another thing that this team did really well today. I thought the passing was really crisp and good vision overall. There's not really a guy on the court that's a bad passer. Everyone seems to be pretty unselfish with the basketball, which is good to see out of the group.
All right, let's take a quick break. We're going to come back with your thoughts, your comments. I want to ask the guys, is this the 9-man rotation? I feel like we have a 9-man rotation now. I think this might be it unless someone gets hurt. We're going to talk about that next. First, we're going to talk about our friends of the show. Listen, all of us on this show, we went pro in something other than sports, right? You guys remember the old NCAA commercial. Let's talk about a little bit LinkedIn, the ultimate place for everyone who went pro in something other than sports, right? You got to find the right spot, people for your team. Whatever that team is, LinkedIn Jobs helps keep the people with no business interviewing for your job outside your interview office. They don't let them in the door electronically. They let the good people like Rajiv and Justin in the door so you can get in touch with quality professionals who know what they're doing. You don't waste your time. And if you don't waste your time, you don't waste your money. That's what it's all about. LinkedIn Jobs remains the #1 source for hiring quality people as rated by small businesses across America. There's a reason they're on top of that hierarchy. They are the best at what they do. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. There is a reason that we use LinkedIn. They are the best out there. Continue going to them. You will not regret it. All right, guys, let's talk about rotations because I think this is it. I think this is the rotation. You have basically 6 starters. Blackwell plays starter minutes now, essentially play 25 minutes. Then you got McGee, you got Gilmore, and you got Winter. I think that's it. I think that's the rotation.
Yeah, I mean, you have cover for virtually every position at that point. Obviously, Gilmore, we don't love to see him out there, but he provides good depth at the 4. Winter at the 5. McGee can come in at the guards, and obviously, Blackwell. Yeah, there's really. I mean, again, I'm waiting for that time where Conor can get back into this, but boy, it just seems less and less likely every game that goes on. I mean, today he didn't play at all until the last 2 minutes, 30 seconds, whatever it was. It is what it is, and the people that are playing are providing valuable minutes. Conor was coming in there not just providing valuable minutes. He was just coming in there trying to get off the schneid a little bit. But look at McGee, first half, great minutes. Winter had some big plays in the second half especially. Obviously, Blackwell, it speaks for itself. And, even Gilmore has a role and played, I thought, really had a couple great defensive plays and got to the foul line. I mean, he's doing small part offensively, but he's doing his part. And, yeah, to me, this is it. Lock it in. I don't think there's any reason to change it.
What are your thoughts on how many minutes Winter had today?
What did he finish with, 7?
7 minutes. I think he needs more. For sure, I think he needs more because he will get better look, you guys know how I feel about him. I think that he's going to be a star for this team, but he does need more minutes, and we should use him more often. Confidence is everything, right? And he's going to keep gaining that confidence. I know, Justin, you feel like he really needs to play more because he'll be a better defensive player for us down the stretch, right?
I think he needed at least 10 minutes tonight. The game was in doubt up until the line. We barely were holding on to a 10-point lead, which is fine. I get it, but he needs to be in high leverage situations because there's going to be a game where Crowell may foul out or we're going to be in bad foul trouble where he's going to be put in high leverage situations and it's going to be stressful. He's going to have to make the right decisions. So I would rather it be a game against Iowa before we get to the games that really matter. I mean, I think this game was fine, but I think we'd all agree Iowa's not a team we expect to be more than middle of the pack in the Big Ten this year.
Tyler Strieber says Winter was lackluster tonight. I'm worried he hasn't got enough time to be solid if Crowell ever gets in foul trouble. That's the issue that we talked about last year with Gard. Mm-hmm. Is like you do have to develop your bench. It's not just to develop your bench for the games right now. It's for when somebody gets hurt. You can't be left in a spot where Winter hasn't developed to a point where you can step in and be reliable. I will say this though. I thought Winter wasn't great today. He needs to be more aggressive, and he spends a little.
Yeah, he does, and that's part of the reason where it's like you just need to get comfortable out there. He's got to learn to be more assertive. I mean, they got to push that on him when he goes out there and let him know you need to be aggressive when you're out there. But the only way he's going to do that is if he gets reps.
And I think you're right. I mean, with the foul trouble, the thing is, it's going to happen one of these games, and he is going to be able to get out there and play that 20 minutes, and we'll see what he can do. But the tools are there, the shot is there. He did trip and fall twice in back-to-back plays. That's not very good to see in the first half.
Problematic.
But I mean, he's a serviceable backup at this point. I think he's going to continue to grow, and that's all I want to see out of him is continued growth. So by the time tournament time comes, hopefully he is a guy that can come in there if Crowell gets 2 fouls early in the first half, then he can come in there and play the 5 for maybe 12 to 14 minutes. There's no reason he can't do that. It's going to take time. I'm perfectly happy with what I'm seeing out of him so far. I want the growth to continue.
Jason Gelton says, Ryan, how about some love for Carter Gilmore tonight? He played hard. I will say this, like, Carter Gilmore makes easy shots on the rim. Like, it turns into like carnival level difficulty. There was one play he got. There was nobody on him. There's a guy coming behind him, and I'm not. But he like went up and under on a ghost. I'm like, just put the ball in. Mm-hmm. The dude plays super hard though. Like he does. He plays a very important role in this team, which is you have somebody who can go out there and just bang into people, who rebounds, who switches defensively pretty well. Mm-hmm. Like there's an absolute role, but I want to say, and comment on Kling mentioned this. He played 10 minutes. Winter played 7. You almost want to see those minutes reversed a little bit just because the upside on Winter is so much higher. Mm-hmm. And I think Klink has a good point on that one. Guys, something that you didn't love in this game. I got one, and you guys can think about it. If you don't have anything, it's fine because I kind of put you on the spot with this.
Oh, I'm happy to start. Turnovers in the first half are a joke. I'm sorry, but and they were unforced too. Like we were stepping. How many times did we step on the line? 3 different times. Mm-hmm. Look, we played an Iowa team that like you said, you guys would say they're not really that great. I think they're decent, but you do that against the Purdue, you do that against Illinois, you do that against Michigan State when we play them again, we're gonna lose. You can't have that many turnovers in the first half. And if a team is just playing super high defensive intensity and they're stealing the ball from us, that's one thing. But unforced turnovers like this, stepping on the line, throwing it out of bounds, it's unacceptable. And it's not, and I would probably attribute that more to the layoff than anything else. We haven't played in 12 days, but that just can't happen. And I think that's something that I was so angry watching that first half. I'm like, you can't keep doing this. You're going to let Iowa get a lead that we're not going to be able to come back from. And if they shot better in the second half, it would have been a different game. We can't let that happen. There was way too much of that in the first half.
Yeah, I think it's a good one.
Yeah, Grant's line here. Couldn't really get Blackwell going tonight. It was good to see that Klesmet step up with 15 points. I was actually going to say, I think they need to do a better job of getting Blackwell some opportunities. Like he's clearly a guy who's only getting reps within the flow of the offense. So his shot opportunities are just, they're too low right now. He's too talented offensively to just have him, nickel and diming shots. He needs to be 7, 8, 9 attempts a game. I think that he's a guy that does that efficiently, and we have some guys that aren't necessarily capable of that.
Mine was, and these two are tied together. I loved what we saw from Storr attacking the rim. He still takes some bad threes. Like he takes some threes that he's too athletic to settle for those shots. The defense is happy to let you take a contested kind of step to the side 3 with time on the shot clock. I think that those type of shot selection plays directly tie into shooting 25% from 3. And you can get away with that a little bit against Iowa because you can dominate them inside. There's going to be teams where we play where Crowell can't have a field day, where Wahl's not going to make 11 free throws. And in those games, you have to be smarter with shot selection, and you can't shoot 25% from 3, or you will lose. Like against a really good team, you're going to have a hard time winning shooting 25%, right? I think you laud them. Rajiv, you brought it up. I think you laud them for winning a game like this, not shooting well. But you also have to shoot better against the better team. So to me, that's the downside. I think shot selection needs to get better. And if it gets better, I think the shot percentage goes up a little bit.
There is kind of a good and bad thing, though, going on with it because, yeah, it's one of these things you almost have to accept about his game because he's so athletic and he's so aggressive. I think on the broadcast, they said something like irrationally confident, which I thought was a pretty fun term that was used. But so I think that's going to come with it. Yeah, I would love his shot selection to be better, but I also just know that comes with having AJ Storr, and I'll take the good with the bad, knowing that more times than not, we're going to be happy about all that intensity and all that aggressiveness. And yeah, maybe it's a little bit too aggressive from 3, but I'll still take it.
Yeah, he didn't have a great night from 3, but I look at it. I kind of look at him in the grand scheme of things, his all-around performance whenever I take a look at him offensively at this point, because I feel like that's where Johnny struggled in his season. We're seeing him get stronger as the season goes on, and this is another game where he was over 50% shooting, whereas if he can continue to do this, he's going to be a guy that can carry them. Like if you can consistently go out there, get 14, 15 shots, and you're shooting over 50% from the field, that's going to be probably better than the guy across from you. That's going to be the star on the other team.
Yeah. So, no, and to your point, I certainly take the overall package. I think there's another level there.
I agree with that. Sure. Like if he tightens up the 3-point shooting to only take shots that are good shots, I think he can get back to shooting 40% again. I think that at this point, there's times when he feels like he just hasn't put one up in a while. It's like this has got to go.
Right. There's just
got to keep Greg on his toes.
You know the inner gray guard, the disciple of Bo Ryan. wants to hook him for a couple of those shots. He's too good in every. He's like, I want to pull him, and then he dunks on something. He's like, oh.
Well, and just think about what he's going to look like.
Baselines that guy.
He's a sophomore, right? By the time he's a senior, think about, well, if he's still here, but that growth's going to happen next year. We're going to see that. I imagine that shot selection will continue to get better, and even throughout the season, it will continue to get better. And he's a star in the making, man. It's so fun to watch that guy play.
What do you think about him? Because if he continues to grow like this, and he averages 16, 17 points a game to end the season, I look at him and the issues I see with his game are the secondary stats are really they're underwhelming for a guy with his size. So I kind of look at it like, it's in his best interest to come back. Like, he's got to prove that he's a better rebounder than this. He's got to prove that he can get the assist numbers up to at least a reasonable amount. But you never know with a guy like this, where if he ends up finishing the season where he shoots 48% from the field and averages 17 points a game, it's gonna be hard for that guy not to go to the NBA. But the secondary numbers are really like, man, you got to get these up.
I think he lacks the ball handling right now. Like,
I would agree with that.
There's too many tough shots for a guy with his athleticism and length, right? If he was a better ball handler, those shots wouldn't be kind of pull-up mid-range shots with someone in his face. They'd be dunks. They'd be layups. There's an NBA package in there. I just don't think it's fully assembled yet.
No, I agree with that. It's just you never know what a player's thinking, and his scoring numbers I feel like are going to continue to climb as the season goes on, and that's where my concern is. Is somebody going to start buzzing in his ear? You're averaging this metric, that's enough for you to go, because I feel like he's underselling himself. He's got a chance to be a top 10 pick if he can put it all together.
I think it's clear that he needs more time, and I think so. I don't think he's going to leave after this year. Next year, I think a different story, because if he can really refine his game, that would be great. I have a comment I want to throw up, Ryan. Jason Geldon says, did they say during the broadcast that this team is averaging around the same points per game as the Finley team in 93-94? Yes, they did. We have a chance to actually eclipse that record from the Finley team in 94, which it's so wild to think, guys, that in 1 year, look at the offensive difference that we've seen. I mean, we were on here talking about 9-minute scoring droughts. Luckily, we haven't really talked about that at all this year. And that is just such a breath of fresh air. And man, like, exactly. Fun basketball is fun. Great. I can't even imagine after last season talking about when we were having debate after debate about whether Greg Gard should keep his job and all this stuff. So now we're putting up 80+ points a game. It's unbelievable. So fun.
And Justin, you were one of the early people on this, talking about just the efficiency and how tough it will be to stop this team. They've done it so far. They've been really hard to stop. And I think that's fun. Basketball is fun. All right, we have to take a really quick break. I'll come back. I know Justin's about to say something. We're going to come back and get whatever Justin's about to say. And then I want to talk about the elephant in the room too. And then I'm not going to talk about it again for a while. But first, a quick break for friends of the show. Quick second to say thank you to everybody tuning in. If you guys didn't see it, I put it on Twitter. We're doing our third annual, and I apologize, this came late this year. We usually do it around Christmas on Locked On, but I was just too busy, honestly. And I'll be selfish. I was just too busy. It's my fault. But we are doing another giveaway, third annual, just as a way to say thank you. So just join that show. It's on Thursday, 9:30 Eastern time. All you got to do is join the show, answer trivia, get free swag. Joe Thomas autograph, Ron Dane, Bo Ryan, Jared Eberderis, and more and more and more. So put it out there. Make sure you're there. All right, guys, let's talk about the elephant in the room. And then, Justin, you go ahead. You were about to say something.
Well, first off, where are the Ryan Herring's autographed receiver gloves?
No, you don't want those
from the Ohio State game.
Ohio State. Those didn't work. Watch the clip that Brian Eilers put out there. I sent those back.
Yeah. All right. What I was going to say is, from a points per possession, this was yet another game where they were well north of 1. They're at over 1.1. So that tells you all you need to know about the offense in this game. Like, this team consistently is well above 1 with their score, and 1 is, I believe, average. So if you're well above that, that means you're a high level team. It'll be interesting to see what the Ken Pom and Bart Torvik stuff comes out with where we're at with that, because I feel like we're going to continue to climb as the season goes on and other teams get tired.
Mm-hmm. Well, to your point, I think there's another level here. Even I don't think Hepburn's played as well offensively from a shooting standpoint as he can shoot. I think now there could be regression from some players as well. So let's be fair there. I want to talk about the elephant in the room, guys. It's Conor Essegian, and then I'm going to stop kind of talking about it. Like, because I feel like every game we talk about, or I do anyway, we answer comments. Where's Connor? Is it a coach's fault? Is he ever going to play? I don't think he's, barring injury, I think this is it for this year. That's where I'm at on Connor. It stinks because I really like watching him play, but he's out. We talked about there's a 9-man rotation. The 10th man isn't playing, and he doesn't play defense well enough right now to get it back in that rotation. Like, I don't know if you guys feel differently than that. Again, I don't want to talk about this after every game, so I'm just going to kind of talk about it now and then. Unless something changes, I'm kind of done with it.
I felt a certain way about it for a while. I mean, I really wanted him to come in there and get more minutes and be able to, and improve his shooting a little bit and hopefully spend time improving defensively. But it's interesting to look at the minutes now on UWBadgers.com, and it's 0+. That's pretty bad to just look at that and say 0+. He played under a minute. But I'm with you. I'm to the point where now it's like, okay, I mean, he's had the opportunity. He hasn't capitalized on it. He hasn't been lethal enough from 3. He hasn't been strong enough defensively. And at this point, when you got guys like Blackwell and Storer coming in there, I'm sorry, you're not taking any of those minutes away, and you shouldn't. And Klesmit is so valuable defensively that you can't steal those minutes. So I'm okay with it. I would love to see him in there. And yeah, sure, if there's foul trouble, if there's an injury, hopefully he can get back to form a little bit. But it is what it is. And we have players that are better than him now, so they've got to play.
Yeah, my gut instinct on this one is this is pretty simple. That this team does not have an issue scoring the basketball. The issue that they have is consistently playing high-level defense, and Connor doesn't help you there. And honestly, quite frankly, he hasn't been overly efficient offensively either this year. So I don't know what you do with that. Like his one thing he can hang his hat on is he's a plus shooter, and he's struggled to get rolling. Now, there's the plus with him is that there's always a chance he just comes in a game and catches fire and it gets him rolling for the rest of the season. Like, that's always an opportunity for a guy like that to come in and have that happen. I love watching him play too. I really want to see him become a capable defender because it would change everything with him. And I really think that gives him a much higher ceiling if he can at least be, average on the defensive end. That might take some work from him, but I think he's a good enough athlete to at least be average if he's willing to put the effort in.
I mean, we talked about that preseason. Like, he is a good enough athlete. So I don't know what it is. Like, sometimes people get in a funk, right? And just zoom out of sports for a second. Has anybody ever just been in a funk professionally where you're just not, it's just not clicking for you, and it's hard to put your finger on it. And sometimes you need to take a break and step away. I'm not suggesting any of that for Connor for what it's worth, but like, I've been in a funk before. It's sometimes hard to snap out of it. And as you got to imagine, the pressure doesn't get less on a guy like Conor Essegian, who, guys, can you think of a Badger player who had a bigger redshirt freshman year and then was completely in obscurity the next year? And people, he's aware of that, right? He's aware of people talking about it. It's not easy.
It's brutal. I mean, I feel bad for the guy. I really do. We were so hyped on him last year. I mean, Justin was, damn near the card-carrying member of the Conor Essegian fan club. I mean, it was like, but the thing is, like, this is just sports. And yeah, like, I think Justin, you hit the nail right on the head. We don't need the offense. And that's ultimately why he's not playing. We just don't need it. If we didn't have Blackwell doing what he was doing, then Connor would get more minutes. And we probably wouldn't be as good because Blackwell's incredible. And that's just where we are. When we brought in 2 freshmen that are getting minutes, and we brought in a transfer. So with 3 guys that are getting tons of minutes out there, there's just no room for someone who's not going to play, who's not a plus defender.
Bo Dragon, how do you get a rhythm when you play 13 seconds? The issue is that the reason why he's getting 13 seconds is because everyone else is playing better on the defensive end of the court. And I'm not sure who he would be better than offensively right now. I'm not saying that he's not capable of being better than some of the guys, but I mean, Blackwell's more well-rounded offensively. He just is. And Storer is the one unicorn that you have out on the court that is a guy that he can't be defended. Like, he's 6'7", he can jump through the roof. He's a good enough ball handler that he's capable of taking it on anyone. And really, his shortcomings are all secondary things that some of the other guys can pick him up on, with Crowell really rebounding and Wahl really rebounding well. And Blackwell honestly rebounds really well. So Storer kind of gets by not having to do some of those things because he's so good offensively.
Well, and
I can still see him having a role in a particular game here and there. Like Darker, I think said it earlier. I lost the comment, but
somebody's going to get in foul trouble in one of these games.
He's like I think Dark Ray said something like Connor's going to come in and save us in March a game. Yeah, he probably is. And like and Bo Dragon made some comments about like just running off screens and shooting up threes. And yeah, it's going to happen. He is going to come in and play and have a big game for us. And that's exactly what we need. But when you talk about regular rotation, and it's already 9 deep. 9 is a pretty solid rotation. I mean, we haven't had a 9-man rotation in a while. So you think about adding a 10th guy in
2015.
That's right. That's going to get, like 10 to 12 minutes. There's not 10 to 12 minutes for him. There's just not. And we're out here begging for Blackwell to have more minutes, right? So how can you really fit him in?
That's 100% it. Where do you take because if you want to play more, fine. I think we all would like to see him get a run a little bit more, but where do you take those minutes from? This is a net plus minus thing. Like you can't take him from Blackwell Store, as you mentioned. It would have to come from McGee or Klesmit.
And Klesmit did play 30 minutes, so maybe you can carve some time out from him.
With how offensively talented this team is and how solid defensively they are, there are going to be some games where we just carve up teams in the Big Ten because there are some bottom feeders in this league. He's going to get out there to get some confidence games yet. So that's a plus. Like these wins like today where we coast to a 10-point lead, this is what we couldn't do the last couple of years. This is going to happen a lot more often this season. That 10 to 15 point range, there's going to be a lot more games that we're just going to kind of bludgeon teams to start the second half and pull away and coast.
I hope so.
I will say this. There are a couple comments on this, guys, and I lost it. I think Ramadan asked this. Maybe someone else, maybe Bo Dragon did. I don't love – and listen, Gard has a better feel in this locker room than I do, obviously. I don't love putting in a guy who was an established regular with like 13 seconds left in a game with 30 seconds.
Yeah,
I hate it.
That doesn't make sense. That almost feels like a backhanded.
Most players don't like that. And again, I'm saying most because I don't want to say all because I don't know. Most players who have been established guys, they don't want to go in with 13 seconds left because there's a connotation with guys that go in at 13 seconds. That's all I'm saying. I don't love that vibe, but.
I mean, you got to think that there is a time we can find a few more minutes here and there, but I guess really at this point, what's the point? Like, he's not in there often enough to really make a difference. So you can understand why he's not playing.
I will say this, Justin, you kind of mentioned this. Bo, you had asked, how does he get in a rhythm in 13 seconds? You get in a rhythm by playing better in practice, period. You get in a rhythm by showing coaches you give a crap. And I'm just speaking in broad terms here. I'm not in practice. I don't see what's happening, but that's how you get in a rhythm. Like, I'm just being honest. Like, you have to show it in practice, and then coach will play more.
I would love to see him take this as a slight and start trying to compete against Blackwell and Store and trying to take those guys down in practice. That's how you beat them. You look better than them in practice, and maybe that's a big ask, but that's where you need to go with it. You need to try and go out there and prove. Like light one of them up, and I think he's a capable enough shooter that's a possibility to happen in practice where he just goes out there and torches somebody for 30 points and then just build off that.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan, I think you had a really good comment about practice. I mean, that to me is why McGee got the minutes in the first half and had a lot of, playing time right away because he probably has been doing that. You bet he's probably balling out in practice.
He plays his butt off on defense.
Yeah. Exactly. Doing what he has to do. And there's a guy that at the beginning of the year, I had said I thought he'd be backing up Chucky. I know there was some, question about whether or not he'd really get minutes. He's earned his way to those 10 minutes. And he's going to play more because he's key. He continues to earn it. Getting 3 steals like that, that's how you get playing time.
Guys, any last thoughts on the game? Justin, we'll kick it to you. Anything that we didn't touch on? Any other comment you wanted to hit on?
It was good to see the team just come back after a long layoff and get a win. That's a fairly convincing win. Iowa's been a team that we've struggled to pull away from in recent years. So to us get a fairly comfortable game and a game I don't think we played amazingly was nice to see. Like, I know, Rajiv, you thought the defense is stacking. I actually thought the defense was a little sloppy tonight because I don't think this is a particularly strong Iowa offense, and I think that we're capable of locking them down. But to come back after a couple weeks off, I think it was a pretty solid effort from the defensive side.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's my big takeaways. It's been 12 days, and these guys we're now 2-0 in conference. We're 10-3 overall. We're setting ourselves up for a really great season. And since I wasn't on with you yesterday, I just want to take 1 minute to say how impressed I was with the Badger football team yesterday in a tough loss to LSU. I wasn't able to be on the show, but man, Tanner Mordecai, holy cow! Like that's what we've been wanting to see. That guy played amazing. But sorry for the little tangent, but I had to make my peace with that.
No, he did. Mordecai was incredible. He was everything we thought he would be for the entire year in one game. But he was great. My last takeaway here is I thought
he trolled us.
He trolled us the entire year for LSU. My other takeaway, and I mentioned this before the show, but Gard did a really nice thing in the second half. For those who are maybe watching, he took Blackwell and kind of turned Blackwell into a denial defender in Perkins. Just said, you have no help, you have no nothing. You go around every screen on him, you don't let him get the ball. And the thing is, when Blackwell locks in on somebody like that with his frame and his size and honestly just his intensity, he can just not let a guy get a ball for 5 minutes, for 2 minutes, for 3 possessions. That's a big weapon defensively. And props to Gard for going to that, because that's a little outside of the Gard, Bo Ryan type of norm there. So
you could see Perkins sizing him up off the dribble. And every time he did something, Blackwell reacted to it. And I think that he was uncomfortable because he thought that he'd be able to kind of break him down. And Blackwell's like, all right, let's do this.
He's too good.
Yeah.
People used to do that to Devin Harris back in the day too. They'd face guard him like that in a 1-on-1 type situation. And yeah, I mean, it's a great thing to do at times when some guy, Perkins, was just owning the first 10 minutes of the second half, and we needed to do it.
Yeah, Blackwell, it gives you a weapon. That's a weapon in March, right? That's a situational weapon. All right, we're going to wrap it up there, guys. We're already a little long for today's show, but it's all good. When we get 3 people on here, it's better to go a little long anyway. Guys, Rajiv, Justin on the Bucky Report, thank you guys for joining us as always. For everybody who tuned in, thank you. For everybody who's going to watch later, thank you as always. You guys are incredible. I hope everyone's had a great start to the New Year's. Don't forget the giveaway show on Thursday night. Be there. Get some free stuff. That's what it's all about. Guys, on Wisconsin, and we will talk later.